Everybody. Again, I'm Leonard from PLDT Smart. I was actually asked to talk about our Open RAN POC, because as you probably have seen the news last January that we are the first in the Philippines to test Open RAN. But sadly, I won't be able to tell you the details because it's kind of strategic for us, and it's part of our long-term plan. But I will do my best to relate that to you in other ways. No? That's why I'm telling you about the telco perspective of Open RAN, at least in our landscape in the Philippines. So this is my agenda. I'm hoping to finish fast so that I could answer your questions. I'm sure there's a lot, especially that I think we have more than 400 participants, and a lot of you are very, very interested in Open RAN and would want to know the status in the Philippines. So this is my agenda. I want to read it to you. Okay, let me start by telling you why Open RAN. I think many of you know already from the past talks in Asia Open RAN Academy. But let me tell you, at least on the perspective of Philippine operators. But again, relating that to the international arena, no? Like what Richard mentioned, I co-lead the disaggregation of network in the whole world. No? I represent the Philippines in NGMN. So talking to the operators around the world, we have common idea of what Open RAN is. No, this is actually led by the operators because we really wanted Open RAN. No? So, for example, in the Philippines, it's not only PLE Smart who wants this; it's all the operators because we would all benefit to Open RAN. And why us? It's not only for the operators or the network, no, but also to each and every one of us. For you, no, I'm sure you are a subscriber to at least one of us, no? And we would like to improve our services by reducing the cost to deliver. So let me go back to why Open RAN, because we want to be, as operators, together with my colleagues in the industry, would like to be very, very flexible intelligence. No? As you know, we're now in 5G, and we're looking ahead. No, we're looking at 6G, and the demand for new services, new experience, getting higher and higher. Anyway, that's the concept of 5G. It enables us to serve you or to give you different kind of services than what you had in the previous generations or previous Gs. So Open RAN will enable us to use general purpose hardware. So this is already an indication of the merging of IT and telecoms. No? Kasi the IT industry is very, very flexible. We on the telco, on the other hand, is very, very tight, I would say, because we are limited with options to the big vendors that we have. So you will see the diagram below. This is where we are today. All of us in the Philippines, we are using one or two vendors for all levels of the network. And on the right side, this is where we want to be. We want to be flexible in a way that we could use any solution, any vendor, any software, any hardware in any levels of our network. That's why I said here that it will enable us to mix and match different vendors' solutions. It will allow us to cloudify our RAN, our radio access network, and it will enable us to install applications, any applications, into the network, which is something we could not do today. And my last bullet says brings new people, competence, and business models. So it brings actually many industries. First is the IT and the developer industry into the telecom world. What does that mean to you, the ISEP members or the students and the engineers in the field? That means more opportunity for you. So it's good news not only for us in telco or in the operator area, but also to all Filipinos and probably to the whole Asia, because it will benefit us all. Again, our bottom line is to provide, why we are doing this is because we want to provide better service. We want to improve our innovations. We would want to provide the subscribers or the customers new and innovative solutions. And lastly, but most important of all is to drive down the cost, because again, the cost, driving down the cost will actually benefit everybody, because we would be able to provide you with better service or even better price. So again, why Open RAN? No? We have been doing Open RAN. Doing means we have been studying, analyzing, and trying to adapt Open RAN. Myself, no, as the head of technology strategy, I've been pushing for this for the last 3 years, no, because of these four items. This is the promise of Open RAN: no? Lower cost, that includes capex and opex, the flexibility that it could bring us. Not like today, no, we are very locked, and more choices, more innovations. And last is to, as you know, no, AI and ML is becoming more popular nowadays. And hindi magpapahuli ang telecom, no? We would like to inject AI ML into the network. And we see Open RAN as the best avenue to do that. What are the advantages? No, because today our traditional vendors are still they're still the one leading, so they're still trying to convince us that Open RAN is not the key. No, but I would say that these two items are the differentiators of ORAN. One is the flexibility. We would be able to mix and match different vendors, different solutions. We would be able to use, we call it COTS, no? Commercial off the shelf, or the general purpose hardware. It's simply just the IT servers, no? The likes of Dell, HPE, Supermicro, and many more brands. No? Not like today, if we use vendor A as hardware, we are required to use vendor A as our software. So yeah, with OpenRAN, we can mix and match. And one of the main differentiator is really the intelligent controller, or what we call RIC. No? This will allow us to install applications, not only telecom applications, no, it could be IT applications, or any other applications. I just did a talk in Ateneo, I think 2 weeks ago. I encouraged them to build a developer community within them, and to so that they could develop applications that we could onboard in the telecom industry. You know, what does this mean again? This means that this will enable the new engineers, the new grads, or the newly passed board passers to start a business, no, of developing software, because that would be welcome to the telecom industries as soon as Open RAN becomes massively deployed. So there are several considerations in adopting ORAN, especially for us. No, there are two kinds of operators, as you know. There are greenfield operators, no? The likes of Rakuten, Dish, One and One Drillisch in Germany. For them, all these three operators, or new operators, and what we call greenfield operators, has adopted Open RAN, because for them it's quite easy. They started a new network from scratch. No? So if you're them, it's really easy to decide, because of course you go ahead with the new technology and with the new architecture. For us, Brownfield, Smart has been there for more than 30 years, no? And the network is so matured. The decision making is not easy for us. No? We need thorough planning, because we have legacy. We even have 2G today. No? We have 2G, 3G, and 4G. So we need to take that into consideration. Plus, we have a very, very solid network. No? I'm not sure if you know, we have been number one for the last 5 years, no? In Ookla and Open Signal. So there's a lot for us to risk if we suddenly make changes in the network. So we plan it thoroughly, and we should do it for the right reasons. As I said, the most important factor for adopting Open RAN is the cost. But for us, it's not the only factor, and I'll tell you in a bit later. But of course, it's attractive because it has lower cost, and we would need to prove that the Open RAN solution outweighs the complexities. No? As you know, we are able to mix and match. It's good for the eyes, no? But when you do it in the field, it's so difficult, no? Because it's so complex. There's so many things to consider. No? And I think all of us in the Philippines, the operators, are not built for that. No? We are built for the traditional solutions, because we have built our network and our processes in our organization the last 20 or more years. No? Just imagine, binuo namin yan for that long. And now, Open RAN or disaggregation is trying to change all of that. So it's not easy. And these are the main challenges us operators around the world have in common. One is the disruption in operations, especially if we intend to use Open RAN for all the technologies for 2G, 3G, and 4G. So it will entail disruption in operations. We would need to reorg our company, our structure and processes for us to adopt Open RAN. It's not like the change of that has been happening at least in the Philippines, with several vendors. It's not like that. It's not like changing the cell site or the equipment or the software. It's not that easy with Open RAN. It's very, very complex. But again, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We see a lot of benefits. And last again, but most important is the competency build. This is the same reason why we have Asia Open RAN today. We're very lucky that USA AIB is helping us, in IDG, and all the academe in the Philippines. So this is one of the most important thing that we need to build in order to be successful in deploying Open RAN. So yeah, these are some of the items, just some of the items that we see that are challenging us to, or I would say impending the deployment of Open RAN. One is the complexity. We are totally changing the architecture of the network. Well, for us engineers, it's a good way, because it gives us a lot of effectiveness, efficiency. But in other activities of the network, such as planning, engineering, optimization, and operations, it will be very, very challenging. And over the past years, if you notice, from 2G, 3G, we have controllers. In 4G, we got rid of the controllers, so the architecture is simpler. And now with Open RAN, or in 5G, we're bringing back the controllers. So it's like in a way backwards, but I think it was deemed by the standard bodies like 3GPP as more efficient, and that will enable us to inject intelligence. So, but again, we're making the network more complex again because it has more parts, and the many combinations that we have allow us to deploy it differently. We have many options, and because of that complexity, we have different costing and scoping. It's even the commercialization or the commercial portion of deploying it will be very much difficult. And we would need new ways of doing things. We need new processes, because it's like merging the IT industry into the telecom industry. So one aspect that will be very much impacted is the dimensioning, or the planning engineering portion of the network activities or the operations. Of course, it needs new investment. We would need to overlay that into our network, um, regardless of where we want to deploy it, in 5G, 4G, and 3G, or even 2G. And lastly, we would need to really restructure our operations, because we need to change the way we operate the network because of Open RAN. More technical challenges for you engineers, transport requirement. When we did the dimensioning, we figured that it requires more transport. And for those who are not familiar, transport is one of the most expensive um, cost or expense of the network. Another is system integration. This is one of the main challenges, because with traditionals, we don't need SIs. No? Our traditional vendors, the likes of Nokia, Ericsson, Huawei, they have their own SI, or we don't need SI because they have everything in one solution. So we don't need to integrate. But with Open RAN, this is a big effort for us. The maturity, as you know, most of your engineers, we are following the 3GPP standards, and the vendors who are providing Open RAN they admit that they are quite delayed in adopting Open RAN, not like the traditionals, which are very advanced because of many reasons. One, they have huge funding, they have huge R&D. Two, most of them sit in the standard body. So they are the ones writing the standards. Therefore, it's easy for them to implement. No? Interoperability, I think you have done this in the previous session. No? This is quite complex because you need to interoperate different vendors. And you know that different vendors, or regardless of being a vendor, different companies have different strategies and R&D. They have different ways of developing their products. So it's not easy because they each have their own laboratories, and those laboratories are not connected. No? So they produce and develop their solutions independently. Organizational structure today, most of the structure today is still built coming from the 2G or 20 years back. Because anyway, the foundation of 3G, 4G, and even 5G goes all the way back to 2G. So the structure is almost still intact. And the procurement process, again, is pretty much, I would say, still 2G-like. So we would need to change all of that. And most important is the competency and training. And this is what we're doing today. Imagine if we are to adopt Open Run in the next 2 or 3 years. The preparation is also 2 3 years because we're starting it today, right? Why are we holding back? No? Not only us, but I think all the operators, my colleagues in the industry have mentioned this last year in several sessions. That the cost benefits or the TCO benefits is still not clear. The savings is not yet fully realized. Like I mentioned in my previous slides, the changes in the organization, the process and procurement, that entails huge, I would say, huge effort and huge cost also. No? The need for SI, system integrator, because we still don't know if we need to do it internally or outsource. If we do it internally, we need to build a new department, a new group that will do it, much like what has been done with our colleagues in the Europe. No, they built a new department. I think even that department will be spin off to a new company. That's how tedious it is. No? But then again, it's the good thing about that. It will bring more opportunity for the engineers. No? Or we outsource them. We tap into a new company or a company that are expert in this field and hire them. No? New investment, we would need to lay more transport. We would need to buy hardware, software. We need to train our people. We need to buy services. So again, cost. It will cost us, I would say, billions of pesos. Again, operational disruption, depending if we will implement it to change our infrastructure in the legacy technologies like 2G and 3G, even 4G. And the maturity of products. Now, if some of you have attended or have seen the videos of the Mobile World Congress, you will see that energy efficiency is still being addressed. The system on chip or the solution of the traditional vendors are still more efficient today, but hopefully it's changing. Massive MIMO, it's still not fully supported, at least the highest, the 6040, 64R, or the higher layer MIMOs. And the RIC, which is for us the most important component of Open RAN, is not yet fully developed. But again, there are high hopes, especially for me, for my group in PLD Smart, and I think with my colleagues again in the industry. So there was a plug fest done in December, in several countries, in Japan, South Korea, France, Germany, Italy, and these are actually the countries leading much of the Open RAN efforts. No? So you have there the likes of Docomo, NTT Docomo, KDDI, Rakuten, Vodafone in Europe, Orange in France, who are in the same venue trying to test all the solutions of Open RAN. And during the Plug Fest in December by ORAN Alliance, there were so much tests that was done to really demonstrate. One is the front hole and the RIC with X apps and R apps. This is the one that I was speaking about. That there will be applications that could be onboarded in the Open RAN through the RIC. And the results were promising. That's the good news about it. So there's really high hopes with Open RAN. So operators are pushing ahead. No? These are the at least the big operators who are leading the efforts in Open RAN, especially my colleagues from Deutsche Telekom in Docomo and Orange, no, in Italy. I'm constantly speaking to them almost every week, talking about Open RAN, what are developments in their country, in their network. Are we pushing ahead? Are we stopping or slowing down? So I'm meeting with them to really discuss how we go about doing Open RAN, and of course getting guidance from them because they have rolled out. I would say roll out not in a massive scale, but at least in some cities like Germany, no? They have this area called Oran Town in New Brandenburg. So sorry, I cannot ano, uh, say it clearly. But they have a city or a town that they have rolled out Open RAN, and it's kind of commercialized because the commercial subscribers are using it. So I'm actually speaking to them next week to talk about it. And Vodafone is very a vocal supporter of Open RAN. You will see them a lot in the news. And Docomo has created an ecosystem. um, the good thing about Edit Docomo is they're trying to bridge between the traditional and the Open RAN. No? They're trying to package the solutions into pre-integrated solution, much like what is being done in the traditionals. No? To bridge the gap between having a monolithic solution into a fully disaggregated solution. Orange is doing a 2-year trial. No? They have already, I think, deployed solutions for small cells. Airtel India, as I heard, would be massively deploying, starting this year. I heard it's about 10,000 sites. Now, I'm not sure where they are today, but that's the plan. In Africa, they're doing trials in South Africa, Nigeria, and Liberia. And again, we have these 3 operators who has done it, who is not commercial in our working. But again, we cannot benchmark our network to them because they're new or they're greenfield operators. So these are just some of the major. There's still a lot happening in Asia Pacific, in the Middle East, in US. No, there's also a lot happening there in terms of Open RAN. But these are the major or the leading operators. No? So again, there's huge hope. I'm really hoping that Open RAN will be massively deployed this year. I have high hopes. If some of you have heard of the Mobile World Congress conducted last month, participated by thousands and thousands of participants, executives, engineers from operators around the world, including us, and including our colleagues in the Philippines, the vendors, the developers. No? So Entity Docomo is cooperating. They have announced that they are cooperating with us, Smart, no? With KT in Korea, with Dish in the US, and Singtel in Singapore. No? T-Mobile announced that I am not sure if you saw the news. They gave us some insights on their testing in Germany. No? There's a lot of They admitted there's a lot of failures, but there's also a lot of success. No? And they have announced their commercial rollout in Germany and in other parts of Europe that they have presence. So they said Open RAN will help operators abandon the black boxes or the monolithic solution supplied by traditionals. Vodafone, they have huge trials, no? Especially in UK and Germany. And as I heard, Vodafone will be rolling out at least 2,500 sites. No? So again, it's a lot. Okay, so for us in PLDT Smart, no, we have doing collaborations again since I think 2019. No, we are an active participant in Asia Open RAN Academy. No, I co-lead the disaggregation project in NGMN. Again, this is the alliance of the international operators. Disaggregation actually is a bigger picture. No? It is the Open RAN of the whole network, and Open RAN is just a portion. It's just in the RAN. No? So in Odin or in the disaggregation project of NGMN, we're doing end-to-end disaggregation of ORAN, which is Open RAN, disaggregation of core, and disaggregation of the transport. So it's an end-to-end disaggregation. So imagine if it flies, imagine the opportunity, especially for the young engineers or the newly grads or the new board passers. So we have been collaborating with a lot of vendors. No, this is just the challenge with Open RAN. I talked to more than 20 vendors, so there's a lot of discussions going on. No, not like today you talk to two or three and you're happy. No, but with Open RAN you talk to a lot of people. But then again, it's exciting because you learn a lot, and there's they provide you with a lot of solutions. No, so it really widens your horizon. You're not focused on just one or two solutions from one or two vendors. So as I said, we have done the POC with Docomo in January. Now that is the phase one. We're pushing ahead with other phases of our testing. Hopefully, we could soon. I'm really hoping and praying that we will commercialize this. No? Again, depending on the status of the industry, of how it will progress in terms of the challenges that I mentioned a while ago. Okay, so Open RAN today. This is Open RAN ecosystem today. 3 years back, as I mentioned in 2019, I highlighted here, no, these are the only vendors that I was talking to, the 4 vendors. Well, only 4 vendors. But today, no, after 2 or 3 years, ilan ba yan? It's, I think, more than 20. Just imagine how many I'm speaking to. So the ecosystem is growing. So the fulfillment of extending the ecosystem and the options for Open RAN is really being fulfilled. Because, for example, in radio unit, for example, NEC, no? Previously they're just radio units, especially when they did the rollout in Rakuten, they're only radio unit, no? Or the RRU or the RU. But today they're almost developing all of this. No, they have software also. They have CUDU, and the traditionals, the likes of Nokia and Ericsson, is already adopting. No, thanks to them. Hopefully, the others will follow. But then again, this is the ecosystem. This is just 2 or 3 years after. No? Imagine after 2 or 3 more years. So again, good for the industry. No? In terms of pricing, there's more competition. There's more solution. Just imagine how many is that? 20 or 30. That means there are 20 or 30 R&Ds developing telecom solutions. So just imagine the vastness of applications and solutions that's being built. And again, for all of us engineers, there are more opportunities. No? So if that's 30 or 40 vendors, that's 30 or 40 HRs that you can apply or send your CV to. Just that is just the vendors, not including the operators yet. Okay, so the future of Open RAN, at least some governments are really supporting Open RAN, as believe in the potential of Open RAN. At least for now, UK, Australia, Canada, and US, they're announced that they're teaming up to really develop the Open RAN. And the good thing about these countries is that they're funding Open RAN. No? They're allocating government budgets for Open RAN for its development and rollout. So that means there's strong support from the government. Because one of the key challenge is really the funding. And momentum is building, as I showed you earlier. No, you saw the ecosystem is growing each and every month. There are more collaborations happening. Like I said, I'm speaking to my colleagues in Europe, in Americas, and in Asia and Africa almost every week to talk about this. No? So we're also discussing about, connecting our laboratories and sharing notes on what we experienced in our POC in the Philippines, them as well in Germany, in France, in Canada. So there's more collaborations happening. The product portfolios are developing fast. As I showed you, there are more 30 or more vendors. Just imagine the effort of that. There are a lot of companies really investing in Open RAN today, big and small alike. No? And the TCO, since the competition is getting stronger, we're expecting TCO to really um, be more significant or beneficial as we go along this year.
At Leonard, hello. Considering that you have ORU, ODU, OCU, and the RIC, what is the component responsible for operation and maintenance?
Yeah, so that, sorry, I forgot to mention that that's the SMO, no? Service Management Orchestrator. So it's like the OSS in the traditional, but this one is more intelligent because it has RIC component. No? So the quick answer to your question is the SMO.
Mhm. Okay. Next question, Sir Leonard, in from Jefferson. What are the biggest challenges have you guys encountered on the POC or testing of Open RAN in the lab or live network in Smart or PLDT?
Okay. With the POC, I would say there's a lot of challenges, no? Because again, with the traditional, it's quite straightforward when the traditional vendor brings the solution in at least in our laboratory, no? The likes of, I would say, siguro the likes of Nokia, again, Ericsson, even ZTE, Huawei. It's quite easy because they just bring the solution there. They plug it in the power, no, and then they do the commissioning, and it's up and running in the next in after I think 2 or 3 days, no. So straightforward. With Open RAN is very different. You need to bring in the servers, the radio separately, and then the software. And these are different people. These are different guys because the hardware guys are different, the radio guys are different, the software guys are different. So at least in the laboratory, I think there were 30 or more people who came in to integrate this. So there's a lot. Actually, we're overcrowded there. No? Not like with the traditional. There are just 2 or 3 people. Sometimes just one. So those are the challenges. Again, there were times that things are not working. I must admit, no. But anyway, when I talked to my colleagues in Europe and US, they said they had the same difficulty. Even 2 years back, no, they told me, it took them 6 months to get the system up and running. Hindi naman ganun nangyari sa amin. It took us siguro weeks. Pero siguro nga, it's in the early stages. That's why it's like that. But it will improve soon. No? So yeah, again, there's a lot of challenges before we had it on air, but it didn't stop. No? Until today, we still have challenges. We're still asking the vendors questions. There's still a lot of confusion. So there's still a lot to learn and to develop, but there's a lot of hope again since it's working.
Question from Leah Kimson. Hi, sir. In ORAN with mixed solutions equipment, if one vendor upgraded their system, should other vendor do the same?
Oh, good question, no? That's one of the challenges, no? Again, with the traditionals, if you have 1 or 2 vendors, ano yan eh, this traditional vendors, they have, some of them have yearly updates, no, on the software. Some of them quarterly. So at least there is you would expect when it will happen, no? Some vendors every year, not every January, they would require you to upgrade the software. Some vendors quarterly, they would introduce patches. But with Open RAN, it's really difficult and different because each and every one of them have different strategy, you know. So siguro some of them have updates in February, some of them in March, no? So hindi yan sabay-sabay, no? And again, maganda tanong mo kasi kung let's say from 2 or 3 vendors today, it will become 10, no? Just imagine 10 yung nag-update ng software. Imagine. Pero again, there's solution, no? I think my friend here, Richard, has told you about that, no, in previous sessions with SMO and Rick. meron namang ano yan, solution. Yun yung tinatawag nating automation. No? So, yan yung, if you ever heard the CI/CD process or the DevOps process, no, there's a way to automate that para hindi na siya yung manual na ngayon kasi pag mag-upgrade ka, pupunta ka sa OSS, i-upgrade mo yung sites, no? But with Open RAN, it could be automated in such a way na the upgrades are automatic, no? When the vendors have their software updates, it automatically goes to the network. No? But again, it's easy to say, but in reality, syempre, when there's updates, there's cost, no? And you need to pay for that. So there should be commercial negotiations, no, before that happens. Pero the good thing about it is there's a solution to it. One key is the automation, and automation is one of the goals why we want to do Open RAN. Sooner or later, we want to automate the network.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Engineer. Next, from Dominic Ocampo, as PLDT home fiber subscriber, I would like to know if the smart telco would be able to implement Open RAN in the future, or would the benefits of Open RAN would also be experienced by us PLDT home fiber subscribers?
Okay. Tough question. I cannot share the details. No, again, it's pretty much strategic, but the simple answer is yes. Because this aggregation is not happening only in the wireless area. So I'm also attending meetings on the fixed portion. No? Kaya medyo mahirap kasi sa wireless, you have 30 or more vendors you talk to. And the fixed portion, like you said, no, in PLDT or in fiber, you also talk to at least, ngayon, konti pa lang sa kanila, mga 5 or 10 pa lang. Pero again, ang dami. Pero yes, soon it will happen. We will not let it stay in wireless only or benefit wireless only, but also in the fixed network. So again, the good news is more opportunity again.
You mix and match equipment from different vendors and there are integration issues between the two. Is there a regulatory that ensures coordination between these vendors to support the company, subscriber, or operators?
Regulatory, not, no, wala niya. Pero meron namang mga alliances like the TIP, no, the TIP Telecom Infra Project. They're facilitating this interoperations. No? TIP has several laboratories around the world. Again, TIP is, by the way, ano yan, mga operators and vendors then working together. No? The closest to us is Indonesia. They actually offered it to us in the Philippines. Kaya lang, binubuo pa. No? In Indonesia, what they did was, all the operators were there, all the vendors were there. No, they're helping each other, testing, and ensuring the interoperation. Now, TIP has badges or certifications. No? So, if you want to ensure about interoperability, we can all ask TIP and ask them, TIP, tumatakbo ba itong solution na to sa ganito? No? They can tell us. Siguro one way to know if the vendor is telling us their certification. So if they're certified, we know that they work with other vendors.
Okay. Just a follow-up question from Carlos Saul Perez. If there is a possibility to see referential example to see the different providers for the end-to-end solution, and if there are providers for each component and each level, if possible.
Meron naman, kaya lang yun din yung, that's what we're trying to build also in Asia Open RAN Academy. Hopefully matuloy yan yung laboratory kasi from there we will see the solution of each and every vendor. Like I said, iba-iba yan. So today it's not so open. Some of them actually when you talk to them, it requires NDA, no? Kasi some of them are very sensitive about it kasi some of them are new companies. They don't like to share pa yung kanilang solution. So it's not, Open RAN pero hindi open yung sharing of information. Pero it will improve, no? It will improve. I think hopefully in Asia Open RAN we will be able to do that and facilitate for you to see.
Okay. Why is it not possible to transfer the responsibility of system integration to the vendors involved as part of their responsibility, especially if the vendors are members of the AORA Alliance?
Kasi If you do Open RAN, ang vendor mo hati-hati na, biyak-biyak na, no? So, with the traditional, when you talk to one vendor, they provide you everything, yung horizontal. Now, with Open RAN, for each and every part of the I hope you attended the Richard's talk, no? He shared about the components of Open RAN. No? We have the CU, DU, RU, no? And each of those components have are different vendors. No? Plus yung vertical component niya, yung software and hardware, magkaibang vendor yan. No? Kaya hindi mo pwedeng ibigay sa kanila responsibility to put them all together. Ngayon, there's this vendor or entity called SI, System Integrator. Sila yon. Sila yung magbubuo niyan. And there's a lot of them also. Kaya hindi siya katulad today that when we talk, for example, to Nokia do this, they do everything. With Open RAN, hindi na, it's not like that. There's already, well, yun nga, merong SI, pero with us operators, yung SI, pero we talk to each and every one of those different vendors, the hardware, the software, the CU, the DU. So medyo komplikado talaga. No? Yun yung challenge.
Okay. Thank you. And then next is from Hadrian Alvarez. How interoperability of ORAN architecture of other vendors be much less cost compared to only one vendor can cater and the overall equipment and monitoring?
Yeah. So I that's also my question, no? Yun nga kasi the promise of Open RAN is to reduce the cost, no? How? Kasi we are able to use the general purpose hardware, meaning the IT hardware. Bakit mas mura yung IT hardware or server? Because we share those components and solution with the other industries, no? The IT, the enterprise, the banking business. So, marami tayong bumibili ng hardware na yon. That means, mas lumalaki yung scale, mas bumababa yung presyo. Diba? Ganun naman sa lahat, diba? Economies of scale. Pero, dahil nga bago, may mga embedded cost. No? Unang-una yan, tulad yan, interoperation. So, when we do that, hindi naman libre ang interoperability services. We need to pay for that. No? So, yan yung tinatawag naming embedded cost. Kasi, okay, gagawin mo yung Open RAN, pero meron kang kailangang efforts. And those efforts are equivalent to cost. No? So, yun, hindi tama yung tanong mo. Kasi, oo, makakatipid ka, pero meron, bukod sa tipid mo, meron ka rin kailangan gastusin. Plus, yun nga, yung competency, yung training, di ba? Kailangan mo mag-train ng tao, kailangan mo baguhin yung organization mo, kailangan mo mag-hire ng mas maraming tao. So, parang yung savings mo, na-offset nung cost, no additional cost. Kaya sinabi ko kanina, one of the main challenge of Open RAN today is the TCO, total cost of ownership. Kasi makakatipid ka in some aspects, pero sa ibang aspect, gagastos ka.
Okay. Right. Okay. Next question is from Jelina. Is PLDT participating in the Open RAN Alliance? If not, will it not be advantageous for Philippine telcos and MNOs to join the consortium since topics of concern to Open RAN are being tackled there, not only on the deployment perspective, but on the R&D perspective?
Yeah. So, I wish, no? I wish. I've been trying to, no? I've been getting approval for that. Siguro the challenge one is cost. It's not free. No, malaking cost to join the alliance. And number two, if you join the alliance, there's huge responsibility. No? You don't just join and listen. No? If you join the alliance, you need to participate. That means you have to have a strong R&D team and laboratory. No? Siguro I must admit in the Philippines we're not that strong in terms of R&D. No? Kasi not like our colleagues in for example, perfect example, my colleague in Germany. They have huge R&D, no? They have huge budget. Again, bakit ganon? Kasi they have funding from the government. So the government gives them millions of dollars, no? So yung ano na yon, yung funding na yun ginagamit nila to build the R&D. Kaya nakakapag-participate sila. Kasi they can provide ideas, they can provide solution, they can provide technologies. No? For example, yung colleagues ko sa Deutsche Telekom, no, in Germany, even sila, they develop their own products. No? For example, CUDU, RU, they develop their own CUDU, RU, and software. No? And then, what they do is, they challenge the vendor. Sabihin nila, vendor, dapat mas maganda dito yung i-offer nyo sa amin. Kasi nabuo namin to. No? So, ganun sila kagaling. Ganun kalaki yung department at ganun kalaki yung funding. So, yun masasabi ko is the straight answer to your question.
From Rosemary, how long is the estimate for a telco like PLDT to fully shift to Open RAN from planning to complete deployment and implementation?
Fully shift, matagal. Kasi hindi madali yan, no? Nakita niyo naman yung sinabi ko kanina challenges, napakadami. Pero siguro hindi fully shift yung term. Baka dapat migrate. No? Most likely, I would say magsa-start yan sa small area, palaki ng palaki. Kasi nga, malaki impact. No? For example, if we are to do that on a massive scale, let's say, kunwari, yung Metro Manila, i-open run namin. Pag nag-fail ang open run, can you imagine mawalan kayo ng signal, 'di ba? Hindi tayo makakonect ng few seconds, galit na tayo dahil it's so inconvenient, no? Especially now na may mga nag-home learning, may nag-work from home, hindi pwede. We cannot allow that, no? We are very sensitive to performance and operational availability. So, I think slowly, and if it proves itself, siguro yung deployment niya would be accelerated.
Are the telcos looking to leverage public cloud like AWS for cloud-based Open RAN components or still conservative on building, operating, maintaining their own cloud solution?
Yeah. So, yan yung sinasabi ko kanina na ORAN is only part of the solution. No? Actually, hindi pala part, step. The one reason also why we're doing Open RAN is because we want to go to cloud. No? We want to go to the hyperscalers as well. No? Kasi siguro nababalitaan nyo sa ibang countries, yung function nila nasa cloud na. Very, very advantageous yun. Kasi in terms of cost, we don't need to build the infrastructure. Doon na sa cloud. No? Parang magre-rent na lang kami. So, yun, that's one reason also. Kaya I'm very hopeful about Open RAN. Kasi once this happens, once Open RAN is fully matured and deployed, it will enable a lot of other steps, no? Yung cloudification, automation. So, very critical na mangyari yung Open RAN para magawa natin yung iba pa nating pinaplanong mangyari.
Okay. From Invictus Fiesta, Sir Leonard, recent buyout of Sky Cable by PLDT for their broadband. Any insights po?
Yeah, ano yan, no? Medyo siguro strategic din, no? The intention really is to improve. Kasi kami, challenge din kami in terms of, gusto namin magbigyan lahat ng fiber. Yan ang gusto namin. Gusto namin magbigyan. Pero maraming challenges yan, no? Especially in terms of cost, rollout, no? And ito, sa akin lang, having Sky Cable would strengthen that, no? Mas mapapadali sa amin makapag-roll out at mag-provide ng better services. Kasi for example, yung Sky, no? Some of you are Sky subscribers. It will enable us in PLDT to improve the services, no? At least yung services namin sa PLDT mapoprovide namin sa Sky and more. So that acquisition or that move will benefit everybody, I would say.
Okay. From Jimmy Chua, is it possible in the future that RAN sharing scenarios wherein multiple operators, Globe, Dito, Smart can effectively share RAN resources?
Okay, I would say not impossible. That's a safe answer, no? Because I think you've heard of the tower sharing, diba? Kami, the operators now are very open to that because it helps us, it benefits us as well, no? Napapababa namin yung cost, no? Mas naging efficient kami in terms of operation. So, kung sa tower nagawa namin yon, why not sa iba, no? But then again, syempre, maraming underlying details and complexities. Pero, kaya ang sagot ko, it's not possible. It's not impossible, sorry. It's not impossible.
From Nasty June, Verde Prado, should the existing and upcoming engineers, like RF in particular, learn more about IT, like machine learning, to enhance their knowledge? So in RF planning and optimization industry, what needs to be done to prepare for Open RAN, and should we learn more about multi-vendor solution?
Yeah, Nesty, nasaan yan? Nasaan ba si Nesty? Nasa Qatar or Kuwait yata yan, no? Yes, di ba, nabanggit ko kanina, ang Open RAN is merging of IT and Telco, no? So, alam niyo yan. Pag nag-apply kayo ngayon as RF engineer, isa sa mga qualification is dapat Python, di ba? So, nagiging component na talaga. Not only in RAN, no? In different domains, sa transport, sa core, sa services, required na yan. Talagang ang IT, I would say, naging ano na, hindi ko masabing one pero nagma-merge na yan, no? At least tayo in the telco industry is adapting the IT strategy, no? Kasi nga sa IT, napaka flexible nila. Anong ano niya, indication niya? For example, yan, yung mga Grab, no, yung Waze, yung mga applications sa ko, nakita niya naman, ang bilis magbago. Ganon kabilis si IT. Yun yung gusto nating mangyari kay telco, na napaka-agile natin. Pag kailangan ng tao to, dapat bukas ma-provide ko na kagad yan. So yeah, the answer to your question is yes.
Okay, thank you. From Clint Hassan, what will be the best contribution of Open RAN in digital transformation of the Philippine government?
Oh, malaki. Kasi nga, if the government will also adopt this, no, kung kunwari magkaroon ng national broadband network, mas magiging efficient, no, at mas magiging intelligent. Kasi nga, mas centralized, no. Kasi if we are not to go to Open RAN, if we continue on doing the traditional, sabi ko nga 2G pa yan. Just imagine, dala-dala natin yan hanggang ngayon. It has to change, no. At least structure, yung architecture, the way we do things, it has to change. Kasi papunta na tayo ng 6G So yeah, it will also benefit the government.
What scenarios and use cases did you use during POC? And how will they be prioritized based on their importance and complexity?
Okay, sige. Yun, sabi ko, I cannot share the details, no? Pero at least what I can tell you is at least the basic services, no? The basic services. Kasi nga, Open RAN is there to, sige, diretso ko na to replace the traditionals. No? So dapat, ang capability nila, ang ma-demonstrate natin is kung ano yung na-demonstrate today ng mga incumbents. No? So yan yung first use case. Wala pa tayo dun sa enterprise, no? Ibang ano pa yan, ibang discussion na naman yan. Kasi ang Open RAN is applicable not only to telco, no? Maraming application yan. Yun din ang kagandahan. Kasi if we adopt Open RAN, we could share the solution with other industries, banking, yun sabi ko, di ba, food, marami. So again, yung economies of scale, lalaki, gaganda, bababa ang presyo, at ang solution magiging mas advanced.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Sir Leonard, for that insightful presentation on Open RAN ecosystem.